So a lot of Uber drivers nowadays are driving 7 days a week just to keep up. Now, look at a few numbers for me. A passenger pays the fare. The driver brings the car, the gas, the insurance, the maintenance, the time. Now, according to Len Sherman at Columbia Business School, Uber's share climbed above 50% in some markets for veteran drivers. Now, Uber, they want to dispute that, calling the entire difference its take, because the company says insurance, taxes, and other outside costs are included in the gap. But for the driver, the immediate question is simpler. How much of the rider's payment reached me before I paid to produce the ride? Now, in the trips Sherman analyzed, less than 50%, the larger share, was already gone before the driver even filled the tank. And that's where being your own boss freedom starts sounding less like independence and more like you bought the office, paid the utilities, and cleaned up afterwards. Now, drivers, they were sold flexibility. They were told, hey, you know what? You can set your own hours, maybe make extra money on the side, and turn the car you already own into breathing room against the cost of living. And while the driver's share was shrinking, the expenses that share had to cover were moving the other direction. Insurance, repairs, rent, groceries, all of it, they're all going much, much higher, just like inflation is. And doing this type of a side gig, it sounds responsible, it sounds convenient, it sounds like the future, but then the bill changed the math. Now, Len Sherman analyzed roughly 50,000 trips from 3 veteran drivers. 1 in Dallas with about 20,000 rides, 2 in Florida markets with 18,000 and 11,000 trips. Earlier in their histories, drivers kept 80% to 85% of the fare. Uber took about 15 to 20%. But now, for those same drivers, Uber shares exceed 50% in the data. It's like the app started acting like the roommate who suddenly decided he deserves the biggest slice of every pizza that you order. And he also sets the price for the pizza itself. Riders see a $30 fare for a short trip and assume the driver is getting most of it. But it turns out the numbers no longer move together. Now, Uber's upfront pricing algorithm decides what the rider pays and what the driver sees separately. The rider paid more. The driver ended up keeping less. And that's where this problem gets worse, because the driver's share was falling while everything that share had to pay for was rising. Because insurance costs more, repairs certainly cost more, rent and groceries cost more. So the driver was not merely receiving a smaller portion of the fare. That smaller portion was buying less every month. So the app paid less for the ride while normal life demanded more of the paycheck. And that's why drivers are working longer and still feeling like they are falling backward. Now, Uber says it needs the extra share for insurance and operating costs. Its insurance reserves grew from $6.7 billion in 2023 to about $12.5 billion in 2025. So the insurance, it's real. And nobody wants an app replacing coverage with just good energy and vibes. But a reserve is money held against future claims. It's not the same thing as handing every extra dollar straight to an outside insurer that afternoon. And while those reserves grew, Uber also became consistently profitable after years of losses. So the driver hears, we need more of the fare because running the platform is expensive. And then the driver looks down and realizes he's still supplying the expensive part with wheels. The payment looked friendly on the sign-up screen. The contract didn't, though. Now, a lot of people have seen the same thing in California. Let's talk about a California driver. He rents a Chevrolet Volt through a vehicle program available inside Uber's driver marketplace. The rental runs him about $600 a week. That's $2,400 every 4 weeks. And that's before he even charges the car, before he waits for rides, before he earns the first dollar he can actually keep. So he clears roughly $5,000 to $6,000 a month after all the expenses. And that sounds respectable until you hear the schedule. He drives 7 days a week, no regular days off. The income, it doesn't disappear, but the calendar did. It's like signing up for a treadmill with cup holders, and it looks convenient, still got you running in places just to stay even with the cost of living. And Uber advertises medium gross earnings above $30 an hour in some markets, but gross is the number before the car sends its own invoice. And gas has a handout as well. Insurance, you got to hand that out. And maintenance has both hands out. And depreciation is standing behind the car, taking pieces of it while nobody's actually looking. And there's another measurement problem here, because is that $30 fare, is that only for the minutes with a passenger in the car? Does it count for the drive to the pickup? The 15 minutes parked waiting for another offer? A driver can earn $30 in active hour and still spend longer than 1 clock hour producing it. And that's like the restaurant saying the waiter earns $40 an hour, but only counting the minutes when the customer is actually chewing. The unpaid time, it didn't vanish, but it's definitely unpaid for. And it just stopped appearing in the headline. And even after the driver controls his expenses, there's one number he can't control: what Uber offers him for the next ride. So accepting more rides does not automatically mean earning more money. Drivers have already started changing how they use the app. They reject offers that don't cover the miles. They switch between Uber and Lyft. And they stop driving during week hours. Some leave the app entirely. And one veteran driver described opening the app, reviewing several offers, rejecting all of them, and shutting it back down. Not because he's lazy, but because he's turning the key. Would that have cost more than the ride would have paid for? And that is what collapse looks like before somebody formally quits. The app, it's still installed. The driver is still available, but the offer no longer deserves the car. And riders, they're adapting too. They compare Uber with Lyft. They check taxis again. They ask whether a friend can drive them. Uber once trained people not to think before pressing the button, but now the price is training them to hesitate. And Lyft says it caps its platform fee at 30% of passenger payments before external costs return excess to drivers. And that doesn't mean the driver automatically keeps 70% of everything, but it gives drivers a visible ceiling they can actually inspect. With Uber, the disagreement itself, it's really telling you something.